Hello and welcome to a new video. Hello and welcome back to a new video. The lighting's a bit funny, I apologise, but we're gonna deal with it. Today we are doing my mid-year wrap-up. If you don't know what that is, basically I just go through all the books I've read this year and I give them a rating. That's pretty much it. How many books have I read this year? Well, good question. I don't know, to be honest with you. Oh god, this is more than I thought. Give me a sec. 71. I've read 71 books between the month of January all the way to the end of June. To preface this, I was in Japan for the first 10 days of the year, so I did download, I don't know, like I had Kindle Unlimited, so a few of the books that I'm mentioning will be because I had like a free 3-month subscription for Kindle Unlimited, just so you know. Also, some of the books I don't have on hand because I've lent them to people. I thought I'd also explain my star rating system. My 1 stars are I DNF it after 50% of rating. I feel like that's self-explanatory. My 2 stars are finished, but it was a genuine waste of time. Like, I could have been reading something better. 3 was enjoyed while reading. But there was no staying power. Okay, I forgot about it. I mean, it was good. Most books are going to be in this 3-star category because, you know, a good book's a good book. It was a good book, but it wasn't really like... The next one is 4 stars, where it was enjoyable, with staying power, and I would recommend it. So these are the books that I sometimes think about, that I remember, although I will mention that some of the 4-star ratings, I do not remember them because I've just read a lot of books this year. That's on me. And then finally, 5-star books resonates with my soul lifelong. I think about these characters and this book all the time, runs in my head. So, I'm going to put the covers here for the Kindle Unlimited ones because the first couple are from Kindle Unlimited. The first book is The Red Zone by Meg Reading. I believe this is book 2 of a series, but that could be very wrong because I just have on my laptop, if you see me looking over there, it's because my laptop's there with the name and the author and what I rated it. So, that was the first book I read of the year. I gave that 4 stars. Then The X-Files, The Walking Red Flag, and Bittersweet, all by Morgan Elizabeth. This is a series. I think it's a trilogy. And I rated all these books 4 stars. They were great. I literally think about them a lot because I started the year off with a bang. Let's just say that. Then the next book I read was Finding You by Lena Hendricks. I believe this is also a part of a series, but again, I could be wrong because I don't remember reading some of these books because they're on Kindle Unlimited because they're not physical, so anyways, I read that 4 stars as well. And now we begin the physical copies because this is when I came back home from Japan. So, the first physical book I read this year, if I can get it out, is Loath to Love You by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this 4 stars. It's basically 3 novellas that she's written and they're all just in one book and they're all like interconnected, and I really enjoyed this. I wish they were full-length books because I love the relationships that she wrote about and beyond my abilities. Okay. Anyways, yeah, I really love this. I don't know. I don't really vibe with novellas, but this was really good. That was the first physical book I read this year. Then I read these 2 books, which is a part of duology. You've probably seen them around, but they're Set on You and then X's and O's by Amy Lear. I really enjoyed Set on You. This was about an influencer, I believe. Yeah, she was a fitness influencer and then a firefighter. This was great. I loved every second of this. This one I gave 4 stars though, because it didn't give me that 5-star 5-star feeling. I really enjoyed it. On the other hand, X's and O's, this was the book that did come out, I believe in February, or I could be wrong. It could have come out in January. I don't remember when it came out, but I read this after reading that and I thought this was such a letdown. I gave this 2 stars. Genuinely, I don't think I liked the main character. I thought she was too self-centered. I would not recommend this book. I would recommend the first book, would not recommend the second book. Basically, this book is about Tara, who's, I believe, her sister, and she reads books and she's very into the tropes and everything like that, and the way that she spoke about this, I mean, the concept was cool. It was pretty much she went on dates with all her exes to find her second chance romance trope, and then this guy comes along and helps her. I don't know, I didn't enjoy it at all. Genuinely did not like it. Would recommend the first book though, because that was great. The next book I read was by Talia Hibbert. This was Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. This is about Bradley and Celine, and they go on this camp together, and I think I gave this 2.5 stars. Like, It wasn't bad, I just didn't enjoy it. I could sense the chemistry between them, I could like, you know, understand it, but the way that it was written and the way that, I don't know, it was portrayed and it came to me, I guess. That's wrong wording, but you know what I mean? It didn't hit as hard as it should have, I think, because I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I genuinely did not enjoy it. So, next book, The Roommate by Rosie Dannon. This book I gave 3 stars, and it's pretty much, I forgot about this book. I remember now. Yeah, it was okay. I gave it 3 stars. It was good. It was good for what it was. Next. So actually the next book I read was Happenstance by Tessa Bailey. I know she's a bit of a controversial author, I believe, from what I've heard along the grapevine, but she's an auto-buy author for me. So what can you do, hey? So I read Happenstance. This one is 4-way relationship, I believe. And I think I gave this 3 stars as well. Again, it's a novella. I enjoyed it for what it was. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't really read the blurb, so I wasn't really expecting the content, so make sure you read the blurb for this one, but it was good. It was good. I don't know what to say about 3-star books because they were good, but I don't know, they're 3 stars. It was mid, but they weren't mid, they were still good. Then I read, oh god, I really should have like gotten these out. From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. I read this book 4 stars. It is ice skating, I think. Figure skating. It was really sweet. I ate this shit up. Like, I ate it up. It was so good. Highly recommend. It is slow burn, I will say that, but it was great. I loved it. Next book was actually an interesting book for me. So this one was Never Ever Getting Back Together by Sophie Gonzalez, my bad. Sophie Gonzalez, Never Getting Back Together. It's about Maya. I think it's Maya. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sometimes I read names and I just go, ooh. Yeah, so I read this book and it was a pleasant surprise. This book really surprised me because I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. I gave it a 4 stars. The concept was very cool. Her ex is on like a dating show now, and like he brings all of his exes to the dating show and then they all date for the prize. I don't know, it just gives us very much Love Island vibes if you're into that, and I didn't expect the plot twist, so this was great. I highly recommend it if you like Love Island and those dating shows. It's great. Getting through this. Next one was Looking Out for Love by Sophie Money Coates, I think Coates. My boyfriend got me this book. I didn't pick it out for me, and unfortunately it was a 2 stars. I feel like this book had so much potential, but it just missed the mark, and I was confused for some of it, and the main character was just not likable or redeemable to me. That was that book. Next one. The next book I read was very, very popular. Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I believe I gave this one 3 stars because I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I didn't think that it was this 5-star book that everyone hyped it up to be, but I thought for what it's worth, like, this book was pretty good. Like, it was pretty good. It was just a good book. The next book was The Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This book came out and I instantly bought it because I read the Dreamland Billionaire series a while ago. This is the 3rd book in the series, and if you have not read it, read it. This was my first 5-star of the year. I love this book. I love the series. He was my favorite like character because it's about these 3 Dreamland billionaires and they're all brothers, and he was my favorite brother, and just the way he redeemed himself. And this book, I usually don't like this trope, but the way that it was written, like, are you kidding me? Ugh, I can't. I love this book. Please read it. Please read the whole series as a whole. Like, read it. Anyway, I could talk about that for a while. That book was just so great. It was so good. Let's read the next one. The next one actually was another Mariana Zapata book. This was When Gracie Met the Grump. I think, yeah, this one was a 3 stars as well because, I mean, it's a thick book. I will say that much. It is a thick book. But it's pretty much about a superhero who crashes into this ordinary girl's backyard and he's injured, and he's, I don't know, it's about superheroes and like extraterrestrial beings and how they want to connect, and how the girl main character is running away from something, or because something's going to catch up to her, and I don't know. There was a lot to take in, but I did enjoy reading it. It was pretty good. Concept was cool. Weird, but cool. Next book I read was another 2 stars. It's I Give My Marriage a Year by Holly Wainwright. I hated the main character, the girl main character. She was horrible. Did not like her one bit. Made me not like the story at all. Didn't think their marriage was redeemable. Didn't like the ending. Didn't really like anything about it. I did finish it though, so that says something. Maybe it's Horrible. I wouldn't recommend it. The next book I read was another Tessa Bailey book. This was Secretly Yours, and I love this book. I gave this book 4 stars. I loved it. I love the characters. I love the concept. The fact that she's a florist and the secret love letters, and oh my god, everything about it. Everything about it was just, but it didn't give me that 5-star feeling. I did really enjoy this book though. I think I'd say it's 4.5 stars, but I don't tend to give half-star ratings. This would be 4.5. It's so close to a 5. I really enjoyed this. Highly recommend. So this book you've probably seen a lot as well. It is A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime. I gave this one 3 stars. It's about, I don't know, it's giving high school relationship, which it is. I don't know. It was a good book. I enjoyed it. You've probably seen it hyped up a lot on TikTok and all of that, but I thought it was an alright book. I don't know what. Anyways, let's move on. Okay, so the next book I read was actually a Kindle Unlimited book. It is Fake Dating Zach Delavan, and I also gave this book 3 stars. I don't really remember what it's about. I know it's about fake dating, but I think it's also in a series. Again, I could be wrong about most of these books. Let's move to the next one. The next one I read was The Rom-Com Agenda by Jane Denker. This one is about Eli and Leah, and yeah, I mean, it was cute. It was a cute little romance. I gave it 3 stars. I mean, it was cute. I think it just didn't give me that 4-star feeling. Like, I genuinely, some of these 3-star books, like, they were good, but they just they didn't stand out to me. Let's go to the next one. The next one is Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. You probably see her name floating around because she wrote Better Than the Movies, and that's a highly rated book by a lot of people. But this was her adult romance, I believe, or it was young adult. I think this was her adult and the other 2 are her young adult. Yeah, I read this. It was good. 3 stars. Just a nice little romance. Can't go wrong. What's the next book? Well, this next book was, there we go, the start of a series by Tessa Bailey that she wrote a while ago. The Too Hot to Handle. I don't know what this series is called. Romancing the Clarkson. This is the first book that I read. I gave it 3 stars, I believe, because again, it was just a nice little romance. You can definitely tell that it was written a while ago though. I don't know how long ago it was written, but you could tell it's at the beginning of her writing. This is when I was going through her backlog. Then I read a bunch of Kindle Unlimited books. So I'm just gonna run through them. So the first one I read was Sinner Consumed by Som Sketcher. This one I gave a 3 star. And then I read Nanny for the Neighbors by Lily Gold, and I gave this book a 4 stars. Surprisingly, I really enjoyed it. And then I found her backlog, which was all on Kindle Unlimited. So then I read the next three of her books, which had like a similar concept, and it was literally like a rinse and repeat. Like, it was the same thing, just different scenarios and everything, but I still ate that shit up. I loved it. So I read Nanny for the Neighbors, Triple Duty Bodyguards, and 3 Swedish Mountain Men, and Faking with Benefits. I think I said Nanny for the Neighbors twice. Anyways, all of these books I gave 4 stars. Loved them, loved the concept. I just wanted to keep reading them. It was so good. And then I read Riot Act by Callie Hart, and that one, it was also just a 3 stars. Let's go to the next one. I'm gonna bring these out. So obviously I read the first book to this series before reading all those Kindle Unlimited ones, and then I decided to finish the series. So then the next book was Too Wild to Tame. This was 3 stars. Then we have Too Hard to Forget, another 3 stars, and Too Beautiful to Break, another 3 stars. They were okay. I don't know. The next book I read was actually one of my favorite books. That's a 4.5. It was The King of Wrath by Anna Huang. I loved it. I ate this up. This was so good. Read it. It's the first in a series that's ongoing, but read it. Honestly, just read that one. Don't even read the rest of the series. Just read that one. Then I read 3 Kindle Unlimited books after that, because I think my subscription was like running out. So I was like, oh my god, I gotta read all these books that I've saved on, because you know when you're scrolling on TikTok or Instagram Reels and then they do like the one sentence and you're like, oh my god, I want to read that book, and then you realize that it's not a physical book, that's actually a book that's on Kindle Unlimited. Yeah, that happened to me. So I read a lot of books when I had the Kindle Unlimited subscription, but not as many as I would have liked to, and now I kind of want to buy it again. That's fine. So the first book I read from that Kindle Unlimited, I read 3. So I read Consider Me by Becca Mack. This one I gave 4 stars. I genuinely don't remember what it was about though, so maybe it's not 4 stars. I just can't think of it. And then I read 2 very popular books that have been circulating TikTok for a while now, and same as Bookstagram, like all the channels. It's been very popular. It's Mile High by Liz Tomford and The Right Move. Sorry. The Right Move by Liz Tomford. I gave Mile High 5 stars. That was my second 5-star of the year. I love the concept and the people and the way that their relationship unfolded and what they did for it. Oh, I just loved it. I loved it. It was so good. Same with The Right Move. The Right Move I gave 4 stars. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first book, but I still loved it. It was still great. And that was all I read on Kindle Unlimited, I believe, because then my subscription ran out. Anyways, the next books I read was actually the two All the Boys I Loved Before series. I've had these books for ages, like when they first came out with the movie, and I just never read them. I don't know. So I decided to read them all and reread them because I read the first one. I got halfway through the second one, and honestly the movies were better. I gave all of these 3 stars. It was alright. I mean, you could definitely tell it's YA, so I would recommend it if you are a younger reader, but I think I've just read so many books that, you know, it was just alright. Like, the movies are way better though. Way better. And then, I don't have these books on hand, but I read the Summer I Turned Pretty series as well, because I had never read it, and obviously I watched the first season. And then, I read those, and I gave those all 3 stars again, because, you know, it's just YA. I don't think that YA, well, that type of YA is my genre anymore, so I can appreciate it for what it is, but I just didn't, you know, it's YA. I feel like that's self-explanatory enough. And then last year I read Get a Life Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, who is the highly suspicious and unfairly cute author, and I didn't really enjoy Get a Life Chloe Brown. I don't know if it was, again, the main characters and all that, but I don't know. And then I was very hesitant to continue the series because I didn't love the first one, but I'm glad that I did continue it because I read Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. I think I was pleasantly surprised considering the last 2 books that I read by Talia Hibbert I didn't love, so I was very surprised by this one. And then I read the final one, which is Act Your Age, Eve Brown, and I gave this one a 3 stars because it wasn't as good. The next book I read was Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson, which is the second book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I read that series last year as well. I read the first book, and I really enjoyed the first book, but it scared me shitless. So I gave the second one a go, and again, I was still scared, but I didn't really enjoy it. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. It didn't look like the first one was really good, and I think I gave that 4 stars. But this one, 3 stars. Like, it was alright. It was alright. And I'm still trying to read. Like, after this, I started As Good as Dead. I'm trying to read it so much, but I just can't get into it. And I want to, but I've read so many spoilers, and like so many spoilers have come up about it that I'm just like it's spoiled for me. Although I also haven't read it, so I don't know if the spoilers are accurate. And it's, anyways. Next book I read was Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. I think I gave this one a 3 stars as well. It was, again, it's a novella. Like, you can't really explore much of the themes in depth in a novella. That was that one. Hello, next book I read was The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. I've read The Honeymooners and Something Wilder by them before, and then I read this one, and this one blew me away. This one was a 4 stars. I love the concept. I love the relationship between them, and I don't know, it was so cool to finally read a book that you've heard a lot of hype about. I feel like that's with some of these books as well. Like, you hear a lot of hype about the book and then you're like, oh my god, I'm reading it, and it lives up to the expectation. It's great. Next book I read, which is behind my camera actually, so I'm gonna move you, but it is the highly anticipated Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and yes, this was a 5 stars for me as well. I loved it, and it lived up to the expectations. It was so good. It was so good, especially for YA. Like, I wasn't expecting this from YA. It was just so easy to read. It was just, relationship was so good, and I loved it. It was so good. The next book I read, because if you couldn't tell, this year I've read a lot of romances, and I think after a point you get sick of reading romance and you want to switch it up. And for some reason, I was in the mood to specifically read The Silent Patience by Alex Michaelides. I probably pronounced that wrong. I was just in the mood to read it. I was about to go up to see my grandparents, and they don't have a bookstore because they live in like a country town. So, you know, I was like, I need to read this book, and I need to read it now. So then I literally went to 2 different Kmarts to try and find it, and I found it, and I read it, and I gave it 4 stars. I was not expecting a plot twist. It was so good, and read this if you haven't already and you're in the mood for a thriller that isn't scary, because I wasn't scared by this, and that's saying a lot because I get scared by literally the easiest things ever. Alright, where is it? There it is. Now, this book I gave it 4 stars, even though it made me sob. This book made me sob. I can't believe someone would write this. Someone would write this. I cannot. This was so sad, but it was good. It was good. It was a good sad. Oh, it's 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole, in case you were wondering. Yeah. And then, because apparently I was in a thriller mood, I read Verity by Colleen Hoover, which I know, do me all you want. It's Coho. Yeah. I read Verity by Colleen Hoover, and let me know if you're team manuscript or team letter, because I read this one with the bonus chapter, and it just made me question everything. It made me question everything. As soon as I finished it, I was messaging my friend who read it, and I was just saying, what? I needed like a whole 3 days to process it, because what? I am still confused. I don't know what team I'm on. To be honest, I think they were all a bit, you know, if you read it, but we're almost there, I promise. So after reading all of that, I decided that was enough thrillers for me, because I was still in shock, and I'm like, I just want something easy to read. And I chose this book. This book. Things I Wanted to Say But Never Did by Monica Murphy. This is a part of the Lancaster Prep series, which is also a part of the A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime. I believe this book was written first, and then that book was written, and then I also read Promises We Meant to Keep after that, and that was kind of like the series at that point. I gave this one 3 stars, and I also gave this one 3 stars, because some of the things in these books were so unhinged that I just couldn't give it a 4 stars. This whole series is a bit unhinged, if I'm being completely honest with you. Right, so the next book I read, Happy Place by Emily Henry, which you've probably seen everywhere because everyone rates this very high. It was I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was great. I didn't think it was 5 stars. Mainly because, again, when I don't like the main character of something, it kind of ruins the whole book for me. Which, you know, but I really, I didn't enjoy the main character, but I enjoyed the book. 4 stars. It was great. I would recommend it though, because it was, I think it was a more in-depth Emily Henry book. But what annoys me is that the rest of her books are this size, but this one has to be this size, and I just pisses me off when authors do that. Also, when authors release the first 2 like this, and then they go ahead and release the 3rd one only in this version, but then of course they can't stop there, so then they put numbers on only these 2 and not the second book. So then I buy these thinking, oh yeah, all the books are going to have numbers. No, the second one doesn't. And then there's versions of these 2 without the numbers, so now I just have these books which I can't finish. Anyways, sorry about that. Next book I read is Charlie's Love and Cliches by Ella Mays. I think it's Mays or Maisie. I've read all the other books last year and I really enjoyed them, and this was just like a little sweet little romance. I gave it 3 stars. It was cute. It was what I needed, honestly. I just needed a quick little romance. Then we move on to this series, which was recommended to me by Sarah Caroli. If you haven't watched her, she's one of my favorite YouTubers. I love watching her and Destiny and Haley fam. Like, I love them. But Sarah Caroli read these books and I was like, I want to read them because they sound so good. And then the final book ended up in my Kmart and not the rest of them, so I was like, well, that's a sign, because I was literally watching a YouTube video this morning where she mentioned them. So the book, or the series, is the Kingdom of the Wicked series. Again, with the freaking covers, the 3rd one being like that, but anyways. So the first one was Kingdom of the Curse, 4 stars. Then the second one was Kingdom of the Wicked, 4 stars. And then the last one was Kingdom of the Feared, which I gave 4.5 stars. I love this series. I wasn't expecting to love it because, again, I haven't read much fantasy, in case you haven't realised. I read a lot of romance, and I thoroughly enjoyed these. I thought they were great, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend them. Wrath is all I have to say. The next book I read that came out after these was another book in the Lancaster Prep series, which is I'll Always Be With You. This is literally about the siblings and relatives of this one family, and I gave this one 3 stars because it was also unhinged. I don't think I need to say more. The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. This is the companion novel for Mr. Wrong Number. It's about the brother, and I gave this a 3 stars as well because Again, it's a cute little short romance. That's all I need to say about it. Which I think I've said a lot about these books, but you know, I read books that have cute little romances, so why not? And then Don't Hate Me, but I read another Colleen Hoover book. I read November 9, and I gave it a 3 stars because I don't know. I mean, yeah. Look, her writing definitely gives glorified fan fiction. Let's move on. I started a book club as well within this time frame, and we decided for our first book of the book club was to be Five Survive by Holly Jackson. This is another thriller, and I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, the way it was written, the plot twist, wasn't expecting it. Also, like, her friends, she deserves so much better. She deserves so much better. The next book I read was another companion novel. I've read a couple of them because they've come out more recently, I guess, and that is The True Love Experiment, which is the companion novel or the next book to The Soulmate Equation. And I loved reading this and seeing the snippet of the other characters in the, what are their names? Jess and River. Love seeing their snippets, and then how this came to be. I gave it 4 stars, loved it. Christina Lauren, you've done it again. Okay, well, almost there. There's only like 7 more books to go, I promise. But the next book I read was Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. She came out with this book, and it's 5 stars. I loved it. I was crying. I don't know if I just related to the main character a lot or what, but the way that this book, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend that duology. I think it might become a trilogy, but it was great. Alright, well, the next series I read here on YouTube, and that's the Cruel Prince series, or the Folk of the Air trilogy. Cruel Prince, 4 stars. The Wicked King, 4 stars. And The Queen of Nothing, 4 stars. If you want to see a more in-depth video about that, go check my other video of me reading all of these books, this trilogy. But yeah, you've probably heard me talk about it enough. And I hate to do this to you, but I read another Coho book because I need another book to fit on my bookshelf. So I read this one, 2.5. I don't think I need to say more. It wasn't for me. I just thought the cover was pretty. The next book I read was The No Show by Beth O'Leary. I gave this 3 stars. Yeah, it was alright. I just didn't think that the guy was redeemable by the end, that this plot twist happened, and I was confused for most of it. And then yeah, I think if you know the plot twist, then you know, but if that was done earlier in the book, I think he'll be more redeemable. And then the final book I read for this month was another book club book. That is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I don't want to say, but I gave this 2 stars. I didn't enjoy it. I thought the writing was lovely. I thought it was great, but I just did not enjoy the book. I don't know, I didn't like it. And but the writing was so beautiful that I think I liked the author, but I just didn't like this book. That was the last book I read in June. So, I hope you enjoyed me talking about all the books that I've read this year so far. It is 71, which is crazy to me because my goal this year was to read 60, considering last year I only read 52, I think. So, I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Peace out!